Good afternoon. President Khouri, Executive VP Dean Sayer, family and friends of Dr. Ismail Khalil, members of our faculty. On behalf of AUBMC, I would like to thank you for joining us here today for this special occasion as we gather to celebrate the naming of the Professor Ismail Khalil Auditorium, formerly known as SB 101. We could not think of a more fitting name for this newly renovated state-of-the-art auditorium than Dr. Khalil, which was made possible thanks to a generous donation from a grateful patient. To begin the ceremony, I would like to invite Dr. Kamal Badr, Associate Dean for Medical Education, to say a few words.
Ahlan wa sahlan. Good evening. What a wonderful day it is for medical education. Before I start speaking about Ismail Khalil, I want to tell you something exciting that has happened at the medical school at AUB over the past 2 years. And that is that we have completely changed our medical curriculum. We have changed the curriculum in order to satisfy the demands, the needs of patients who were not only in Lebanon but all over, beginning to complain that physicians were no longer in touch with who they are as people, no longer sensitive to their social and economic needs, no longer caring about patients as patients but more as diseases. And so we created a new curriculum, which we call the Impact Curriculum. And the vision of that curriculum is to graduate physicians who will impact and transform society as healers, scholars, educators, and advocates. And the values of that curriculum: to be excellent, of course, in all you do, but also to be ethical, not to cheat, not to get back kicks, not to overcharge your patients, to be sensitive to patients' humanitarian needs, their economic distress, to be professional towards your colleagues and those who work with you and under you, but also to be a scholar, to be involved in teaching, to be a good researcher, to be a good leader, to be loved and love those around you in the spirit of collegiality, and to give back to your society and your institution, which has given you so much to make you what you are. We could have summarized all of these and said that we want to graduate a physician like Ismail Khalil. But how do you become Ismail Khalil? It's not easy. Becoming Ismail Khalil is a process that involves, like all of us, two components. There are gifts that one receives in one's life, and then there are achievements. The first gift is to be born entire. Now, I know that this is not something all of us can aspire to, but it is a gift because entire, you get to grow up in a very special way, especially if you are blessed with a loving and supportive family. And here's the earliest picture I could find of Ismail with his late brother Ma'in and his sisters, and the city of Tyre is in the background. And this is Ismail's older family. The Khalils are a healthy-sized southern family of 9. 4 brothers, Qasim, Mu'in, Amin, and Ismail, and 5 sisters, Layla, Najla, Nadia, Zahiya, and Zaina. Ismail's father, Muhammad al-Khalil, raised 9 children. He had a tough job to provide a decent living and education for all. He worked in Beirut as a realtor and would come home to Tyre on weekends. He labored all his life to provide for his family. And Ismail told me that throughout my childhood and my teens, my father always repeated this statement: to succeed in life, you don't need intelligence. You must work hard and with persistence and determination, and you must love your job. Seek the highest education possible, because your education will be the only asset you will have that no one can ever take from you. As for his mother, she was, as he says, a Hajji. She was illiterate, but she was an amazing lady, having to put up with raising 9 children, and also a very wise woman and a loving mother who always taught her children 2 lessons repeatedly. The first is the importance of forgiveness in life, and the second is that gratitude is the best attitude. I think Ismail embodies those 2 in the most wonderful way. Now, aside from a great family and a supportive family, it would be good if one could grow up and go to a nurturing and stimulating school. And I don't know if anybody from IC is here, but all of us who are from IC recognize that definitely that was a place where Ismail could flourish, and he spent many years at International College. Here he is, as you can see in this picture from his early days. Ismail was the trumpeter down here, and his trumpet would always sound either to encourage the English section or to drown out these cheers for the French section or another scouting group. Here he is at his graduation party. I draw your attention to the haircut, which changed considerably over time. So after he graduated from IC and got the gifts of family and good high schooling, the rest are all personal achievements that Ismail made on his own. And the first was attending a great university. The universities are made great not by their name, but by their teachers. And I wanted to share with you the evaluation of one such teacher of Ismail Khalil. This is Timothy Harrison, who passed away in 2010, but was the chair of the Department of Surgery from 1968 to 1971. A very important scholar later on at the University of Michigan and other places, and a product of Johns Hopkins. Here is the medical student evaluation of student Ismail Khalil in 1970 by Timothy Harrison. And you may not be able to read this, but Ismail scores excellent in all the categories that matter: extent of factual knowledge, ease of comprehension and ability of expression, ability to correlate findings and analyze material, and then as far as his attitude to work, interest in work, reliability of work, initiative and outside reading, all of those are ranked excellent. And character, which is part D here, courteous and consideration, and gives consideration to patients and their families, excellent. Attitude towards teachers, colleagues, and other members of the hospital staff, excellent. Dignity and ethical principles, excellent. And so it was amazing how this teacher, so many years ago, recognized Ismail Khalil. And this is his application to the residency program. Notice the progression in the hairstyle, because intervening from the early 60s to the early 70s. Now, it is not enough to go to IC and AUB and be well educated in Beirut. To be Ismail Khalil and people like Ismail Khalil, you must train and excel at a world-class medical center. And Ismail chose to go to NYU, where he completed his fellowship in peripheral vascular surgery, and then went back to that institution as an assistant and then an associate professor of surgery at NYU. Now, NYU Medical Center was established in 1842, but it took them about 140 years, in 82, to establish what they call the Attending of the Year Award, which is awarded to an outstanding mentor by the 9 graduating chief residents. And the only attending to receive this award twice in 2 consecutive years was Ismail Khalil. In fact, it became known as the Khalil Award, and since then has become a yearly tradition. Now, in addition to excelling at NYU, Ismail helped many graduates of AUB at that time and later on go on to pursue careers in surgery in the United States. Some of them are, of course, prominent members of our faculty now, including Jabir Abbas, Pierre Sfer, Nabil Flayhan, Jamal Hubballah, Fadi Haddad, and others. And so it is they and many of them who are grateful to Ismail also for helping them with their career. In addition to being all of that, Ismail decided to come back and serve his alma mater and his country. And in fact, from 78 to 81, I had the pleasure of being his student at the time when he came back. And as assistant professor of surgery, he really was the founder of vascular surgery at AUBMC, which had not been its own specialty at that time. In 78, he was the first to install a percutaneous vena cava, the first at AUBMC used to prevent pulmonary embolism. But in addition to all of that, to be Ismail Khalil, you need to be a great teacher, because Ismail is a great teacher. And the testimony to his teaching comes from many quarters. His teaching was manifested during his years as associate and then full professor and now emeritus professor of surgery at AUBMC. I would just like to take a minute to read you a letter written to him by 45 medicine 4 students who all signed the back of this letter. And that says, "Dear Dr. Khalil, we have not thanked you yet for all the time you put into teaching us since we started at AUH. You have exposed us to vascular medicine. You have also inspired us about learning in general by stimulating our thinking and listening to our questions and comments. Clinically, your approach to the patient was an example for us to follow and taught us consistency and meticulousness. To us, you will always remain a great teacher and the true doctor, and hope that we will remain for many generations after us by your presence in the department, blessed by you. Our regards and appreciation, fourth-year medical students." I think there could be no better testimony to a teacher than a letter spontaneously written by a huge number of students while they're graduating from fourth year. Not only his students, but also his residents. This man wrote him to say, "This man is the professor to whom I owe my professional success. Ismail Khalil, you shaped my skills, my mode of thinking and acting and caring. I still remember your words and pass them on to my medical students. I learned a lot, yes, a lot from you, and you are always present in my mind when I use your surgeon's knot in my operations, when I read medical literature, when I establish a critical diagnosis." Quotation from Ismail, "Am I missing something that could hurt or kill my patient? Pain beyond physical findings is vascular. This is a small sample of your words during the chairman's rounds and journal clubs. Yes, your words are in my mind textually after 20 years. Thank you, Ismail Khalil. Thank you. Can this small word express my gratitude?" A great teacher also became a great leader. Ismail headed the Department of Surgery in '93 and again in 2000. The department flourished under Ismail, who sits here among the residents, and his performance in the department was appreciated deeply by the residents in 1994 in this award in recognition and appreciation to his dedicated work to improve the academic and teaching standards of surgery, and by his election to the Alpha Omega Alpha Medical Society in 1997. I think most significant about Ismail Khalil, aside from all of these attributes, is that he is someone who embodies collegiality, and I like to call it just plain love. I think he is someone who loves others, and many others love him, only because he loves them to begin with. He is loved by his residents, as I've already shown you. He is loved by his colleagues, and this love was expressed by the award of the Merit Award from the Medical Chapter alumni, which was presented to him in 2011. He is loved by his colleagues, and I found interesting that one of the anesthesiologists who worked with him wrote him that, "I had the honor of giving anesthesia to many of your critical patients, vascular and in surgery, and were a real art to enjoy under your supervision. God protect you." He is loved by his children, and here he is with Maya to his left, and behind him, Shireen and his son, Ramzi. Ramzi is a pediatric cardiac ultrasonographer at Montefiore Hospital in New York. I think he went as far away from surgery as possible. But I think all of you will agree that the most important thing it's a beautiful picture, and I think it expresses the support and the love that Myrna gave to Ismail throughout all his ordeal, and of course, she is the one who matters most in his life. And last, but certainly not least, and why we are here today, is that Ismail, in addition to being all of that, has left a legacy for the generations to come. The first of that very real legacy was his dedication of the Vascular Lab in June of 2012, and here he is seen doing that with former President Dorman and our Dean Sayegh. And when we put all of these together, we see that he was blessed with a loving and supporting family, grew up in a nurturing school, a great university, excelled at the world-class medical center, served his country, was a great teacher and scholar, was a nurturing and innovative leader, was a loving person, and left a legacy for others. So when one thinks of the new curriculum and the characters that we aim to aspire, I think it is fair to say that it is only right that our principal teaching venue, this room, should forever carry the name of one who embodies the values of our curriculum. I would like to end by a quotation from George Fawaz, which I think leaves us with the theme of today. Education is that which remains after all the facts are gone. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Badr. I would now like to invite Dr. Mohammed Sayegh, Executive VP of Medical Affairs and Global Strategy, and Raja Khouri, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, to say a few words.
I don't know if you know the translation of Muhammad is the ever blessed. And certainly I am blessed, Ismail, to know you after I became dean. I have met you when you gave us the lecture on vascular access. As a budding nephrologist, it was obviously a very important lecture for me. But I did not know you very much before I came back. And certainly I am blessed to know you as a physician, a great physician, as an amazing patient, but most importantly, as a great supporter of the 2020 vision and this institution. The time and effort you give to work with us and to support us. You have worked with us and the faculty on the group practice, which is an extremely challenging task. And now you are working with us in the Chief of Staff office to try to improve patient care and deliver the best quality care for our patients. So certainly, Ismail, as Kamal said, we are all blessed to have you among us. And now to help this institution by going after your family and friends and patients and colleagues to bring support for the project and for the 2020 vision is beyond what any one of us have been doing for this institution. I hope that all of us, the faculty here, are and become like Ismail Khalil. Thank you very much, Ismail.
Thank you, Dr. Sayegh. We're honored to have Dr. Fadlu Khouri, President of AUB, with us today to celebrate and participate in this naming ceremony. Dr. Khouri, the floor is yours.
Thank you. It's a special honor and privilege to be in this room and to see it finally named. I first sat in the back row in 1971 when my father was giving a lecture, and then noted 1 year later the very earnest young man who was shaking the hand of every one of his teachers. Probably the only member of that class that I think I met as an year-old boy was Ismail Khalil, who went out of his way to thank every one of his teachers after he graduated. And so the next time I was in this room that I can recall, in 1997, when Samir Atwi and George Freiha invited me to give a lecture, and I had to cover up for the absence of primary data with an abundance of negative trials, I tried to focus on the friendly face that I had known for so many years, who, while he had been twice, I think, the chair of surgery by then, always remained a kind and gentle scholar, educator, and mentor to so many people, to Nabil Flayhan, Jamal Habballah, Pierre Sfer, a generation of surgeons. And I remembered, while I was giving that lecture somewhat anxiously, to stay focused on this kind individual before Samir and my other friends could fillet my presentation as it deserved. In 2001, Kamal Badr invited me on a very propitious date in history. As it turned out, September 11th, 2001. By now I had more data, maybe too much data, as Kamal remarked at the time. And again, Ismail was here, always magnanimous, always generous, always the model of humility, kindness, and knowledge. But this time I had more data, and he was not willing to let me take a free pass. So he asked me not one, but a couple of tough questions, which I tried to answer. And when I think of this room, I think of this as the room that not only has brought generations of medical students forward, but it has also led to the development of confidence among individuals, from medical students who are sitting in the audience all the way to attending staff and outside experts. But it always had an ungainly room, SB 101. The room now looks much better as the Ismail Khalil at Auditorium than it did SB 101. It holds a great name of an individual whose name has been associated with this university for 5 decades, and a name that I think we can all agree will stand in perpetuity, not only out of generosity, not only out of timeliness, because it's a perfect time, as Kamal and Mo mentioned, with the new curriculum, but out of distinguished servant leadership. I think, Ismail, today I say thank you, to Myrna, to the family, for generations of devotion and of absolute giving in every way, in leadership and scholarship, in patient care, and yes, in service to humanity. It's gifts such as this that can help change things, that can help change things for AUB as really the preeminent leader in liberal thought, in patient care, and in higher education and research in the Middle East. Today, you give back to your alma mater, as you have for generations, once more, and as I'm sure you'll do with Hassan al-Salah here in your other part-time role as Deputy Chief of Staff, for as long as we can possibly cajole you to continue to do so. But it's a day of celebration for those of us who've known you for generations and those of us who've known you shorter, and to say thank you to a man who has been a great mu'allim for generations. And please, the floor is yours. Thank you, Ismail.
Last and definitely not least, I would like to invite the man we are here to celebrate, whose exemplary behavior and excellence in patient-centered care led to this generous donation. Dr. Ismail Khalil, Deputy Chief of Staff for Medical Services and Emeritus Professor of Surgery. Dr. Khalil.
I just have to say thank you. Honestly, the view is so beautiful today. Unlike previously, so many times we stand here to give lectures. We have the leadership, members of the Board of Trustees, my beloved family, and my best friends, my colleagues, and all the people I cherish. I do not want to sound like a priest, but I can say we are gathered here today to join in holy ceremony, Ismail al-Khalil and SB 101. I am really moved and I am honored by the gratitude bestowed upon me by my patient and the generous and gracious statements you heard from our leadership. I am emotionally overwhelmed. As a matter of fact, today we are celebrating two events. First of all, the naming ceremony, but what many do not know is that 2015 marks my 50th anniversary with our alma mater. "50 years, that translates into 74% of my lifetime. 74%. This is home. And my association started in 1965 when I had the privilege of beginning my undergraduate studies at AUB, followed by medical education, then residency in surgery. Looking back at those 50 years, I am so grateful. They flew by in 5 minutes. And I know for a fact that if it were not for the role that AUB and AUBMC have played in my life and my career, I would not be standing here this evening. But it is worth noting that in 1970, I had the opportunity to be part of history in the making of this hospital and this auditorium. At that time, I was a third-year medical student, and I and my classmates helped in transporting patients from the beautiful old AUH across the street to this building. And also, we were the first class of third-year medical students to enter this room, sit in these chairs, and witness what academic medical education is truly about. This is not just an auditorium. This is the prime auditorium. It has been and will continue to be the venue for academic education, academic debate, and scientific conferences. It is in rooms like this that AUB and AUBMC have paved the way and raised the bar for academic education and healthcare delivery in the country and the region. I always wonder, where would Lebanon be, or where would the region be, if it were not for the role that AUB and AUBMC have played in our history over the past 150 years. What you are witnessing this evening, ladies and gentlemen, is the gratitude of a patient who had an outstanding experience at AUBMC, which impacted on his quality of life and survival. The patient's profound gratitude and keen interest in promoting AUBMC's vision have led to this donation. Although I am honored to be the recipient, and that's true, but you see, we only deliver what we learned here for a very short interval of time, namely our career. But what lasts in perpetuity is the alma mater. And these donations are made because of what AUB and AUBMC stand for in their past, in their present, and in their future vision. And today's event proves that when a patient has a good experience and a positive outcome, and when the institution and the physicians educate their patients about the value of investing in the academic vision, the potential for donations is limitless. In fact, and I got to learn over the years by getting these donations, that all those investors who have been through the roller coaster mode of investment in the world, there is one investment that will bear fruit in perpetuity, which is investing in the vision of academic centers like AUB. And finally, throughout my career, I used to stress upon my students the sanctity of the doctor-patient relationship. But I never dreamt that it would pay back so generously. I assure you all that words cannot convey my deep emotions and gratitude for your presence here this evening. And I thank you all for taking the time from your family, from your busy schedules to be here and to bestow upon me an added honor by your presence. Thank you very much.